welcome to 2 cents Short of a Dollar, the show where we give our 2 cents and keep it 100. We're your hosts. That's Motiz. I'm Rue. Today, what I want to talk about is a major card that we have coming up, and it's not by Riyadh season. So the Canelo Alvarez and Edgar Berlanga undercard. Some notable names there. We got Stephen Fulton on the undercard. We got Danny Garcia, Erislandy Lara. We got Rolly, Caleb Plant. So just a stacked undercard on name alone. So what do you make of us starting to see some of these more stacked cards where it's not like, all right, turn on the program, let me run out, do something for a couple hours, come back close to the main event?
I think the red season's been just setting the tone, to be honest, and I think it's been raising the bar. And I think Turkey by influences is increasing kind of these stacked cards. So it's good to see. I love it. I love to see cards like this and see great fights. I think the only next step, which this card is probably lacking behind, is the competitiveness. But I think for the most part, there are clear favorites in this card. I think the closest fight in terms of competition might be Danny Garcia versus Lara.
In terms of name, at least.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's run through the undercard real quick, right? You got Stephen Fulton is fighting Carlos Castro at his debut at featherweight, right? So Stephen Fulton's moving to 126. I don't know if you saw it, but I think it's YSN Media, the ones who cover out in Philly, and they're at the gym with them a lot, right? They asked him, they said, what have you learned from the Inoue fight? And he was like, yo, like, in all honesty, basically he was saying other people can't hold up your career, right? So I'm not really sure who else it was that he was trying to fight at 122. He was unable to make that fight, you know what I'm saying, to try to go for like undisputed or whatever. I guess MJ had the belts at that time, right? So basically, so to stay on track, Stephen Fulton was like, yo, like, don't wait for people, do what you want to do, and basically understand your body. So he was saying like he knew he didn't have much time at 122, and I guess he thinks he wasted some time trying to unify all the belts. So this is outside of Inoue, right? So he's not saying like okay, Inoue did anything wrong, but he was like he spent so much extra time. Marlon Tapala is who I'm thinking of.
Right.
He wasted I think according to him, he wasted time trying to unify and become undisputed, that it started becoming harder for him to make that weight. You see what I'm saying? So anyway, that's just a little backstory behind him moving up to 126, because I was kind of waiting around to see if he would try to get a rematch with Inoue or something at 122, but obviously he's saying his body can't make 122 anymore. So how do you have him faring in his first fight at 126?
I think this fight is a 10-rounder too, if I'm not mistaken. So I think he should win this fight. I think this is a kind of a comeback fight to kind of get him, get his feet wet. I believe his opponent, Carlos, shouldn't necessarily pose too much problems just based off his style. So I got Stephen Fulton definitely winning. I don't know if he's going to make a statement, but I think if he makes a statement, it will kind of make some noise for him in that division, entering the division for sure.
When you say statement, do you mean by like knockout or just like an impressive performance? Because I mean, he's not really a knockout guy.
An impressive performance, like a dominant performance.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean towards you with this one. I think moving up to the new weight class, strategic matchmaking, right? I think he will be in there with someone that he can showcase his talent. Still a talented fighter, right? So I got Stephen Fulton cruising to a win in that one as well. And then next, I think we got Rolly Romero versus Manuel. What's Manuel's last name?
Manuel Jamie, I believe his name is.
Okay, Manuel Jamie or
Jamie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Rolly back again. Who do you have in that fight?
Yeah. So Rolly, as you've hinted already, Rolly's the bigger name, right? But we've seen fights where Rolly has won fights which were robberies against lesser names, and he snuck by easily until, of course, he started, going against the likes of course, Gervonta Tank Davis and Pitbull Cruz. I don't know much about Jamie's. I know he's a decent fighter, but I can't put nothing past Rolly at this point. Coach, I don't know. I'm probably leaning towards Rolly losing this fight, but then again, I'm not sure his handlers would allow that to happen with this undercard, right? So I don't know. It's up in the air for me. I can be convinced either way, but it is a little. It's in part due to my ignorance on Jamie on this part.
Yeah, last time I looked at plus 250 means Jamie Jaimes, or however you pronounce his name. Someone please correct me in the comments. It's a sizable underdog, but I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna put money on him to beat Rolly because I have absolutely no belief in Rolly whatsoever. If I'm not, I don't even remember because it was a while back. I think I picked Rolly to. Did I pick Rolly to beat Pitbull?
No, I
Maybe
don't
I did.
think so. I
Okay.
don't think so.
Any which way, I know I have picked Rolly to win some fights. None of the like I didn't pick him to beat like Javante or anything like that. But man, I have no faith in Rolly. None. I will, bro. I don't care who they line Rolly up against. I will bet against him, bro. Until he proves me wrong. I have no choice but to. Like, it's starting to look kind of like mental out there. When he's out there, he's looking like a deer in headlights. You know what I'm saying? And I know Pitbull puts a lot of pressure on you, but yo, kind of in the what's his name? Ismael Barros.
Yeah, the old guy.
The old man, for lack. um, like Rolly just looks confused out there. You know what I'm saying? And he changed to renowned trainer Ismael Salas, right? Which, if you could drop a picture of Ismael in the high platform shoes, someone please explain to us what was happening here. But nevertheless, bro, I just don't know if Rolly's focused, man. And he may have just taken one too many good hits to the head, bro. I'm picking against Rolly in this one with someone even that I have very minimal knowledge on. I'm gonna pick against Rolly.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I know Rolly usually struggles with power punchers, which makes him a bit more gunshot, right? Pitbull, the old man, Tank Davis, right? But even still,
how many knockouts does Manuel have? Let's see.
Is I don't know. Even if Jamies or Hamies, excuse me if I'm pronouncing his last name wrong, right? If he's even not necessarily a big puncher as they are, still I don't put past Rolly losing, to be correct.
16 fights, 11 knockouts. UD, KO, UD, KO. So he's not KOing people at an extremely high rate. Earlier in his career, he was, but
that could play a role, right? Because he's not a big puncher, so he'll probably fare a bit easier. He is probably like a notch down compared to what Rolly was facing before. But even still, I don't know if the losses had an effect on him mentally, or his style, So we'll see.
I'm still picking against Rolly. Everybody wants to pick against Rolly. Please join the line. We're going to FanDuel. We're going to kill FanDuel this weekend.
Oh, man, I'm crying.
Okay, on a more serious note, then we have Caleb Plant versus Trevor McCumbee. This one, I feel like, unless you see otherwise, should be a fairly easy win for Caleb Plant.
Right. Easy, honestly. I don't think we need to even go into it.
Yeah,
Caleb Plant's a more experienced fighter. He just,
I guess I got to ask you, where does Caleb Plant currently stand at 168, right? I wouldn't consider him a gatekeeper, right? I don't think he's there in his career, but he's not necessarily competing for that top spot. Like, so I feel like he's in an awkward position, right? Is he like next up, guys? Like, all right, so obviously we have Benavidez ahead of him. We have Canelo Alvarez ahead of him. But what about in terms of guys like David Morrell? Even though David Morrell just fought at 75, like Benavidez, there's a chance he may fight at 68 again. So, like, where do we currently see Caleb Plant at the super middleweight division?
I would say if we're including Benavidez and David Morrell, then Caleb Plant is a clear top 5 168 pounder. Clear. Yeah, he's probably taken a step back because of his losses against Canelo and David Benavidez. But I think that speaks volume in terms of how he performed against them. So I would definitely say he's easily a top 5 fighter in that division. I think he'll give Morrell some problems. Honestly, if Morrell can't stop him, Morrell loses to Caleb Plant, in my honest opinion. So he can easily be a top 3, top 3, top 5 fighter at 168 pounds. Now, if you're not including Morrell or David Benavidez, he's easily top 3. Easy.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. I'm interested to see how he looks in this fight, man, because his last performance was Benavidez, right? And in a loss or not, he looked impressive. At least the first half of the fight, very impressive. He still had moments in the second half, but then you kind of see where he kind of went into survival mode. But I think the fight that we're probably all most interested in, Danny Garcia and Erislan De Lara. And I think they're fighting at a catchweight here. It might be 157 or something. Danny's last fight was at 54. He only so that was only one fight at 54 against Jose Benavidez Jr., which he won. And now he's moving up to fight Ruslan De Lara. And this fight has been baking for some time. They were supposed to fight for some time now. Lara has been fighting at 160. Now, 160 Lara looks a lot different than 154 Lara.
Yeah.
Right. It's not as much movement and utilizing the ring. And it's been a lot more sitting down on them punches and knocking people out. Danny Garcia so far has proven to have a granite chin, but that sample size is mostly at 147 pounds. So can we see Danny Garcia potentially get knocked down or knocked out in this fight?
I can see him getting knocked down for sure, especially with how, because I know 3 pounds is a lot in boxing, but at those weight classes, when you start going up in weight, the pounds mean less, you know, in terms of what you're losing, what you're gaining, because it's just an abundance. But I would say I could see Lara clipping Danny Garcia and dropping him, not necessarily getting him out of there, but yeah, definitely dropping him. I think it's a dangerous fight for both fighters. I think Lara, the thing is, although Danny Garcia is probably the bigger name, Lara is still a dangerous, you know, opponent. You know, notably his fight against, we all know who, which most people say he won. And, you know, I think it can be, I think it's dangerous on both sides. You know, I think Danny Garcia has more experience, but in terms of skill, that's a whole nother department, you know.
And it's gonna be tough, right? Because like I said, Lara's been sitting down on those punches a lot more. But if you sit down on there, staying there kind of opens yourself up for one of those hooks, right? From Danny Garcia. But me personally, I can't see Danny winning this fight. I think too much size, too much skill. Because if Lara needs to move, I think he will be able to move, kind of just outbox him. I know he's Danny Swift Garcia, but in my personal opinion, it's not that fitting of a nickname, at least not right now, because he's not like he has lightning fast hands or super good move. You know what I'm saying? I just think Lara will be able to box him if need to. And I think he'll sit down on those punches, you know, give Danny at least something to think about, you know, like Danny's fought at 154 once, took a lot of time off. Now he's going up again, even granted catch weight, unless Lara struggles making the catch weight. I think he kind of cruises to a win in this one.
Yeah, and see, I agree. I do think Lara's going to win because although Danny got more experience, like I mentioned, I just think in terms of skills, I think Lara might be more skilled than Danny Garcia, if I'm being completely honest. And I think, like you said, the biggest part about this is the fact that the Danny Garcia of old was the most dominant when he was at 140 pounds. And then even when he moved up to 147 and 147, we started to see when he started fighting better competition, the knockouts started to drop. And then we start moving up in weight, your knockouts ain't going to be there. Whereas Lara, he's always kind of been heavier than Danny Garcia. So he's more comfortable at those higher weight classes. And like we say, size matters, right? There's weight classes for a reason. And they're both getting older. So it's just a matter of just how much of father time affects either fighter. But yeah, I would probably have to agree with you. I think Lara's going to win this one. I don't think he's going to win comfortably, or I think he's probably going to struggle. But I think it's going to be a war in there at certain points. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.